Hating someone is surprisingly easy to do. It's almost comfortable, like a heavy coat you wear because the world feels a bit too cold without it, and you've forgotten how to walk without the weight pushing down on your shoulders. We define ourselves by what we aren't, and usually, we aren't that person who makes our skin crawl or says the things that make us feel small in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. There is a strange, dark power in resentment, a fire that keeps us warm when we feel ignored, and it gives us a clear sense of purpose in a world that often feels chaotic and indifferent. But I heard about this challenge once, a 30-day mission to find one good thing to say about your enemy every single morning, regardless of how much you want to stay silent. It sounded like a trap, a way to surrender your dignity for the sake of some vague, spiritual peace that I wasn't entirely sure I even wanted to achieve in the first place. Why should I praise the person who has caused me so much internal noise and constant pressure, the one whose very presence feels like a smudge on a clean piece of glass? I decided to try it anyway, mostly just to prove that it wouldn't work, that some people are simply beyond praise and some hearts are just too heavy to be lightened by a few words. On the first day, I sat with a blank notebook and felt a genuine, physical resistance in my hands, as if the pen itself was refusing to cooperate with such a ridiculous and forced idea. I mean, my jaw was tight, and my heart was beating with a rhythm that felt like a warning, telling me to stop before I did something that could never be taken back or forgotten. I eventually wrote that they are very punctual, which felt like the most boring, flat truth I could find, a compliment that didn't actually require me to see them as a person. It didn't feel like I was cleaning my heart. It felt like I was lying to the paper and to myself, performing a role in a movie about a person who is much kinder and better than I am. I wondered if I was just being fake, or if the real me was the one who wanted to keep the anger alive and burning for as long as possible just to feel something sharp and clear. On day 3, I noticed their handwriting is actually quite elegant and precise, though I hated myself for noticing it and even more for having the courage to write it down in my notebook. It's a strange thing, to look for beauty in a place you've spent so much energy and time trying to make ugly and unbearable in your own mind, isn't it? You start to feel like a traitor to your own emotions, like you were abandoning the parts of yourself that have been keeping you safe and guarded for all these years against the world. But the rule of the challenge was clear. One compliment every single day, no matter how much it burns to say it or how much you want to reach for a different, darker word. By the end of the first week, I was genuinely exhausted from the sheer effort of not being actively angry for 5 minutes, a feeling that was much more physical than I ever expected. It takes a lot of calories to maintain a grudge, I think. We just don't notice the cost until we try to stop and realize how much energy we've spent building a wall that doesn't work. I found myself watching them from across the room during meetings, searching for a clue, a spark of something tolerable, something that didn't make me want to walk out the door. I noticed how they always hold their coffee cup with both hands when the office gets too loud, a small gesture that seemed to suggest they were looking for a bit of grounding. It's such an ordinary thing to see, isn't it? Just a person trying to find a bit of warmth in a busy room. But when you hate someone, even their coffee cup looks like an act of war. I wrote it down anyway, a tiny observation that felt like a pebble in my shoe small, irritating, but eventually impossible to ignore as I walked through the rest of my day. I started to wonder if the person I hated was actually a real human being or just a collection of my own triggers and insecurities that I had projected onto them like a screen. Maybe we don't really hate people. Maybe we just hate the way we feel when we are standing near them, the way they make our own flaws feel a bit more visible and raw. That thought stayed with me for a while, circling round like a bird that can't find a place to land, making me feel a bit more vulnerable than I was prepared to be on a Wednesday. Day 10 was significantly harder because they did that thing. You know, that specific, condescending thing they always do that used to set me off for the rest of the week. I wanted to tear the notebook into 1,000 pieces and go back to the familiar, sharp heat of my own fury, which felt so much more honest than the praise I was trying to manufacture. It is so much easier to be right and angry than it is to be confused and trying to be kind to someone who doesn't even know you're struggling to acknowledge their existence. But I forced myself to sit there at my desk until I found one thing. A single moment where they were actually helpful to a coworker who was clearly struggling with a difficult task. I wrote that they are good at explaining complex ideas to people who are having a hard time, and for a second, the pressure in my chest loosened just a tiny bit. It felt like a defeat, a surrender of my right to be miserable, and I am still not entirely sure if I liked that feeling or if I was just too tired to fight it anymore. I noticed you're listening quite closely now, perhaps wondering who your own person would be in this, that one name that makes your stomach turn whenever you hear it mentioned. We all have that name, that ghost that follows us into our quietest moments and tries to steal the peace we've worked so hard to build in our homes and our heads. By the middle of the month, the silence in my head was starting to feel a bit wider, a bit more spacious, as if I had cleared out a closet I hadn't opened in years. I wasn't spending nearly as much time rehearsing the arguments I would never actually have with them, the clever things I would say to put them in their place once and for all. I mean, if you're looking for a compliment, you can't also be looking for a fight at the same time. The brain just doesn't seem to have the capacity to tune into both frequencies. You have to choose which one you want to hear. And I was trying to find something that wasn't just static and noise and the sound of my own blood rushing in my ears. But then a new kind of fear started to creep in, a doubt that felt colder and more permanent than the original anger ever did during those long, dark nights. If I stop hating them, who am I? What happens to the part of my identity that was built on that resistance, on that no that I've been shouting for so long? We use our grudges like armor, thinking they protect us from being hurt again by the same person. But the armor eventually becomes too heavy to move in or to live in. If I drop the shield, am I just inviting the old confusion to come back and crush me when I am not looking? Or am I finally giving myself the chance to walk away? I saw them looking at the rain yesterday, just standing by the large window for a long, quiet minute while everyone else was busy talking about things that didn't matter. There was something so fragile and still about their posture, a silence that didn't match the loud, aggressive person I thought I knew so well from our brief interactions. I wrote that they have a quiet side that seems to appreciate the stillness of a rainy afternoon, and I felt a strange, hollow ache in my chest as I closed the notebook. I didn't feel clean or pure when I wrote it. I just felt tired and a little bit sad for both of us, trapped in this stance of being people who don't know how to talk to each other. Is this what forgiveness feels like? Not a bright, blinding light or a sudden choir of angels, but just a slow, heavy fading of the noise until you can hear your own breath. Or am I just losing my edge, becoming one of those people who lets everything slide because they don't have the strength to hold on to the truth of their own pain anymore? The challenge ended yesterday, but the notebook is still sitting on my desk, half full of words I never thought I'd say about a person I never thought I'd see as a human. I still don't like them, not in the way you like a friend or someone you can trust with your secrets or your dinner plans on a Friday night when you're feeling lonely. But the monster is gone, replaced by a person who is just as messy, confused, and probably as frightened as I am, even if they show it in a way that I still find annoying. I don't know if this 30-day mission was a victory or just a very long, Very strange form of self-inflicted confusion that I'll have to untangle for the next year. Contradictions are hard to live with, especially when they involve the people who have hurt us or the people we've spent so much time convincing ourselves are unworthy. Can someone be a nightmare and a person who appreciates the rain at the exact same time, without one of those things being a lie or a performance for the world? I think they can, and that realization is much more frightening than just believing they're evil, because it leaves you with nowhere to hide your own capacity for being the same. It leaves you with the uncomfortable reality of your own reflection, staring back at you from the surface of the water you were trying to keep clean and still. I suppose the heart is never really clean, just slightly more used to the weight of being human and the complicated, messy business of existing alongside other people. I mean, we're all just trying to hold our coffee cups with both hands until the room gets quiet and we can finally hear what we're trying to say to ourselves in the dark. If you're thinking about trying this, maybe start with something small, like their choice of shoes or the way they manage to find a pen where nobody else has one. Or maybe just don't do it at all and keep your fire. I am not sure I can tell you which one is better for your soul or your sanity in the long run of a life. The notebook is still there, and they are still there, and the world is still a very loud and difficult place to navigate without a map or a compass to guide you home. I think I'll just sit here for a while and listen to the silence before the next thing happens, and maybe I'll try to find one good thing to say about myself today too. It's enough, for now, to just be a person who is no longer carrying a heavy stone in his pocket, even if I don't know where I'm going or what I'm supposed to do next. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.